The thing about Thanksgiving is that after watching it, you really need to sit down and let your thoughts marinate before talking about it. Splatter film expert Eli Roth brings us another slasher. Although not as gory or bloody as Hostel, Thanksgiving still manages to leave a mark considering the entire history around the holiday and dystopian nature of the Black Friday riot. Like, for a second, I could actually imagine this all playing out in the real world. Yeah. The integration of modern technology with the killer's agenda was honestly genius. It's hard to maintain tension in modern slashers, considering how your characters could easily call for help or outsmart the killer with tech. But John Carver rendering them unable to use those adds to the horror. The waitress being unable to call for help because her fingers were too mangled to get past the fingerprint ID while a phone was right there is like, the levels, man. The levels. Another thing that worked for me with Thanksgiving is John Carver's entire look. His entire black outfit with the hat and mask is very Ghostface to me personally. My own personal preference for slasher villains is them looking as unassuming as possible, but being the most vile masterminds that go on to do creative kills. John Carver ticks all those boxes for me personally, and I also think he has the potential to become a new horror icon. The actors did a good job, especially Patrick Dempsey. Whoever decided that romantic heartthrobs would make good horror movie villains really cooked with that one. Also, the killer stopping to feed the cat after murdering its owner honestly made him all right in my eyes, because you know they're not all that bad if they like pets, right? You know what's better than a body swap? When the body swap is being done with a serial killer. Christopher Landon taking everyone's favorite movies and remixing them with a slasher twist is honestly my favorite thing. I personally loved Happy Death Day, and Freaky really impressed me. Vince Vaughn and Kathryn Newton did exceptionally well with what they were given. Vaughn especially gave off serious Jason and Michael Myers vibes, with his hulking physique staring you down like the imminent harbinger of a painful death. Also, his portrayal of a teenage girl needs to be applauded as well. Kathryn Newton also delivers. Her transformation from meek, timid, and tormented teenager to a badass, ruthless one really made you feel like they had really swapped bodies. I loved the kills. They were creative, they were smart, and they were memorable. Brett and Ryler's deaths? Woo! If I had to pick a movie that straddles the line between Scream, 1996, and Happy Death Day, 2017, it's The Final Girls. I've watched this movie so many times and I never tire of it. Listen, it's not the perfect slasher movie out there, but there are so many other things about it that make it so good. It's beautifully shot, it's emotional, it's enjoyable while subtly calling out the racism, sexism, and stupidity that was rife in the horror movies of the 70s and 80s. It's hard to find a PG-13, yes, PG-13 slasher that caters so well to casual watchers and horror enthusiasts. The other reason for adding The Final Girls to this list is the poignancy of the mother-daughter relationship. Most slashers will often compromise or sacrifice character growth and development because they'll prioritize the creativity and violence of the kills. To me personally, the characters in a slasher film matter every bit as the other elements. The way Max deals with her grief and its resolution is a scene that will remain with us for a long time. And Billy Murphy is probably the first slasher villain I actually sympathized with. Listen, I know Scream 5 was good, but Scream 6 was entirely in another league. I mean, if I had to put it a certain way, I would say Scream 5 was the launching pad for the beautiful dive that was Scream 6. It's really hard to revive a franchise, especially after the original creator has passed away. Like John Carpenter for Halloween, Wes Craven was a master of the horror genre in a way that seems insurmountable. But I would say that directors and writers both need to be applauded for staying true to the source material while taking the franchise into a new direction. To me, Scream 5 was a good watch, but it didn't have much of Melissa Barrera's character Sam. Billy Loomis is and always will be my favorite Ghostface, so the prospect of his heretofore undiscovered progeny really excited me. Samantha really shone in the movie. In the previous movie, we did see her struggling to come to terms with her parentage, and her slowly embracing it at the end of the movie. The scene where she smiles exactly like her father when he was terrorizing Sydney in her kitchen makes me shiver deliciously every time I recall it. I also loved the tension and horror they kept throughout the movie. right up until the conclusion. Before we get into this, I have to confess, it might not look like it, but Halloween is actually my favorite franchise after Scream. John Carpenter's Halloween reinvented the slasher genre in a way that I don't think he could have foreseen. Sure, to a modern-day horror fan who didn't grow up on the classics of the 70s and 80s, this might feel like an exaggeration, or they might not think it's all that, but nothing will compare to the first time you watch Halloween and see Michael Myers drifting in and out of the shadows and looming in the background, reminding us of his presence throughout the film and not letting us sit easily for a second. Another reason Michael Myers is the horror icon he is today is because Carpenter poses the same question of the long-debated topic: evil. Is it innate? Is it not? What caused Myers to do what he did as a child, and what drives him to this day? Dr. Loomis couldn't figure it out, and neither could we. The reason why I consider Halloween to be on this list is because Halloween Kills feels like a love letter to the original movie. The movie calls back to the events of the 2018 and 1978 movie, which gives off an almost surreal feeling of being trapped between the past and the present. Plus, the mask being eerily similar to that of the first one is epic. Myers has donned many masks over the course of the movies, but this is the closest they've come to recreating the original. Halloween Kills is different from the other movies in the sense that the directors focus on the town this time around. For Haddonfield, Myers is their own personal boogeyman that refuses to die, and you realize how much impact he's had on the people and how widespread the impact of a killer is on the society. Another thing I loved was the carnage candy of it all. Oof! Is it weird if I say the kills were brutal but also pretty? The comic book effect probably has something to do with it, but it was A-grade material. There's not a lot of movies in recent years that have brought forth a character like Pearl. Usually in slashers, you'll find yourself faced with killers with tragic backstories, but your sympathy vanishes in the face of the heinous atrocities they go on to commit. With Pearl, there was none of that. Pearl's introduction is impactful. You're shown a girl with big dreams that are bogged down by unfortunate circumstances, but your perception is immediately altered with the duck scene. Mia Goth's portrayal of a woman that is so broken and traumatized, and her gradual descent into madness is done with such delicate craft that I simply cannot imagine anyone other than Goth playing Pearl. She brought Pearl to life. She became Pearl. To me, Pearl also brings attention to the plight of women in those war years, where their only function was to exist to serve men and society. Pearl is clearly someone who doesn't fit the mold. You can see her struggle to be a good wife and a good daughter while trying to carve out a little piece of life she wants from all of it, only for her to fail at the end. Pearl isn't just a horror film or a slasher film. It's also a complex character study of a character so doomed by the narrative that despite the killing she does in the film, you can't help but root for her, and you can't help but cry a little at the ending scene. While many movies have tried to recreate the formula of Scream over the years, and some have succeeded, I feel like Happy Death Day is by far the freshest take on the concept. It has a little bit of everything I like in it. Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, Groundhog Day. I do love a good Groundhog Day. Christopher Landon's fast-paced and energetic writing style gives this movie life, and in my opinion, that's why it works the way it does. Time loops are tricky, and if you get too mired down in the details, it takes all the fun out of it. Landon ensures that does not happen by giving us a protagonist, Tree, played by Jessica Rothe, who's giving us Regina George but later turns out to be a little bit of Elle. Despite Tree's initial unlikability, she manages to worm into our hearts. Huge credit to Jessica Rothe, who truly outshone in this role. I'd also like to mention that there were many callbacks to Scream in the film, like the scene of Laurie being thrown out of the dorm window, or that shot of Killer approaching Tree Ghostface style before going stabbity-stab. I have many favorite scenes from the movie, but the montage of Tree attempting to solve her own murder, set to Demi Lovato's Confident, is top-notch. What made me decide to watch Haunt was the fact that it was set around Halloween. Any movie that's set around Halloween, I'm on it. The other deciding factor was the fact that Scott Beck and Brian Woods directed it, who, as we all know, did The Quiet Place. As a slasher, Haunt checks off all the boxes with a haunted house twist. The villains are hair-raising creepy, the atmosphere was foreboding, the characters really made some good decisions, and the conclusion was really satisfying. The setting is really immersive. I actually liked how, despite the claustrophobic setting of the haunted house, the layout was quite easy to follow. It really helps when the group splits up into two ways. The masks and the costumes are so detailed that these people really feel like harbingers of doom and evil. The traps are actually genius. Some of them are even reminiscent of Jigsaw. The reveal is what makes it even cooler. Like usually in a slasher movie, you've got a cast of characters that you'll suspect to be the actual killer. But in Haunt, you're just left with more questions. The movie is a one-time watch experience, though. It relies heavily on the shock factor of the traps and the twists. It's not fun anymore when you know what's coming. Solid watch, though. Art the Clown is a menace. There's no other way to put it. Art knows it, and he wants you to know it too. You can tell the actor had a grand old time playing the character, because the scene in the diner where he's smiling at our heroines actually made my skin crawl. I'd also like to take a minute to appreciate Jenna Cannell, whose character Tara Hayes brought to mind a modern-day Sidney Prescott. I do wonder if that look was deliberate. For gorehounds and carnage lovers, this movie is a wet dream. There are some scenes in there we are not going to forget anytime soon, and I know that you know which scene I'm talking about. The color grading in this film is top-notch and adds to the viewing experience. In my opinion, it captures the old-timey feel of horror movies where practical effects run amok, and somehow doesn't manage to undermine the modernity and creative brutality of the kills. The throwback grindhouse nature of the movie is what makes it appealing. It's straight up, pure nastiness with no pretense of it being anything else. However, the lack of an elaborate plot is what makes the movie fall flat. While some might argue that its ambiguity is its appeal, the main character is a lean, mean killing machine with no apparent motive, which in itself is terrifying, but for me personally, I prefer my slasher killers to be a little more fleshed out. Although Don't Breathe doesn't match up to Terrifier in terms of nastiness, it does have its own brand of it. The idea of a trio robbing a blind man is reprehensible, but the tables being turned on them sets a series of events that has you biting your nails. The way the movie does sound design and camera work to create a claustrophobic atmosphere that affects the viewers on a level is something of a feat. The part where Stephen Lang's character kills out the lights before playing tag with Rocky and Alex in the basement is a scene that actually makes you pee your pants a little because you're so worried about their survival. I'm also still waiting for Dylan Minnette to pick a role where he actually survives to the end in a horror film. The reason why this ranked so low on this list is because of that one twist where the war veteran's true intentions regarding his prisoner are revealed, which honestly disgusts you more than horrifies you. Plus, the pacing and the character motivations are a little frustrating at times. But overall, Don't Breathe is a particularly well-done modern-day slasher with a twist. And there you have it, folks, our top 10 slasher movies of the past decade or so. Let us know what you think about these movies and our rankings in the comments. What other movies, in your opinion, should have made this top 10? We can't wait to read what you think. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Take care, and keep watching for more content about your favorite films.